I'm Dwight Hollier, and I'm chopping it up with Buck.
I love it. I'm Charles Arbuckle, and we're chopping it up with Buck. Today's guest, I've been talking to this guy, man. We have known each other for a long time, Dwight Hollier. And I'm in your country. I'm off of Franklin Street at UNC at night when UCLA's getting ready to play, man.
I know, with the wrong colors on.
We can go any blue. We can go light blue, we can go this blue, but we all blue. How you doing, man?
I'm good, man. I'm good. Doing well.
Good.
Doing well. You in my place, man. This is Chapel Thrill. This is the beautiful blue place.
Yeah. Well, you know, it's always interesting. I've been here for 16 years. Yeah. I grew up a kid in Houston, but I was a big ACC basketball fan.
Really?
ESPN had just come on. I mean, I love Len Bias. Len Bias was my guy. And so when
amazing talent that we lost way too soon.
But Michael Jordan, Ralph Sampson. I mean, it's interesting. Football guys, I don't think people ever wonder why we like basketball or other sports, but we played all kind of different sports. So it's amazing how that is.
It's funny, man. I love basketball, but I couldn't play to save my life. I played basketball. So it's sort of like I do everything. Yeah. Like I played football.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
And I was, I could grab a rebound. I couldn't shoot to save my whole life, and I could throw some elbows, but the things that required sort of a soft touch, finesse.
Yeah.
That was not me. I had one mode.
Now, did you play baseball, or did you run track growing up, or was it all football?
I played baseball and youth baseball.
Okay.
Never went beyond probably 12 years old. I fell out of love with it because the coach that was coaching me made me run one practice, and I was ready to quit after that.
So after that
was my last year. I finished the season, but that was it. And I ran track part of my junior year. I ran track in youth. Yeah. We had a little track club that we ran in youth, and then I didn't run again until my senior year of high school.
Okay.
So, but really loved track.
Yeah.
And as I mentioned, I just came from a track meet.
Oh yeah. I mean, it's interesting. Now, so many coaches are wanting kids to specialize, but when we were growing up, you played everything. Who was your first coach? I know you were close to your father and mother, and your family's a tight-knit family, but who was the first coach or the one that kind of got you thinking, I can really do this, I can get to that next level?
That's a great question, and I don't know that I got to that acceptance that I could do this really until high school, but I had a lot of coaches between then, including my dad. I was fortunate. We lived in Hampton, where I grew up in Hampton.
A lot of great talent in Hampton. Reggie Langhorne.
That could be a whole nother podcast.
We're going to do it again.
That could be a whole
Allen
nother
Iverson,
podcast.
I tell people, was one of the best players from Reggie Langhorne perspective that he had ever seen. And he said, Buck, if he had played football, he would have been all-pro, maybe Hall of Fame.
Absolutely.
And he said he was plus arm that he could throw.
He would have changed the game sooner than it changed.
Wow.
Yeah. He would have changed the game before Michael Vick changed the game.
Well, we have to talk about that because I'm from Texas and I got a lot of those Texas stories too. But tell us about how coaches or teachers or who influenced you, because that's the part I always am curious about, people's journey along the way.
My dad, he went to the Shipyard Apprentice School.
Okay.
So following high school, went to the Shipyard Apprentice School, and he played football there.
Okay.
And so as I was growing up, neighborhood where I grew up in Phoebus, in the Phoebus area, Hampton, we did everything in the street. Football, track.
Car coming.
Yeah. Step, dodgeball, everything was right there between the telephone pole. Now we played what was then called Kill the Man, and you're probably familiar with that. We had Garrick Edwards and one of my great friends growing up, and they had a big yard, and they lived on the front of our street. And so we go to his house, play Kill the Man in his yard. We'll get out in the street and we'll play touch, but touch sometimes can get a little rough, right? So it was no holds barred out there. But we played football all the time. The first time I played organized football, I was 7. I was too young to play on the 8-year-old team, but because my dad was coaching, they let me come on and play. Now they put me at safety because back then, safety was the place where they could hide you. Right? They put you out there and hopefully nobody runs to you. You back there, you just, you really are supposedly safe. But it was from that vantage point that I got a chance to really learn the game. And loved the game. My older brother, who's 6 years older than me, Greg, called him Hollywood. He was a good football player.
Why they call him Hollywood?
Well, that's a long story. Okay. That's a long story that we can't put on camera.
We all have Hollywood, Bay Boy.
Hollywood.
Gotcha.
Hollywood lived up to his name. Continues to live up to his name. But he played football too, so I got a chance to see it, firsthand. Everybody in our neighborhood played, and it was those competitions on our street that really helped toughen me up to a level. But I never got to that acceptance that I was good enough to go forward, really until high school. My head coach, Coach Johnny Pauls, and our assistant coaches, Coach Conrad and Coach White and the others that coached us, they really sort of reinforced that idea that, you can do this.
Yeah. It's interesting when somebody gives you something. I mean, you're a counselor now. You've dealt in mental health and dealing with kids and helping them understand that. But we all kind of know that we have it in us.
Right.
But there's so many times you get knocked certain ways, and you're just like, I don't believe in myself. I don't do this. And that's what's always interesting to hear. Who kind of kept you going, or somebody came along, or people that just kind of kept you motivated?
Yeah, you know what? I was a shy, reserved kid. Like I didn't have a lot of confidence in myself, and so I was always pushing. Like, I don't think I'm good enough. I don't. I suffered from that imposter syndrome, right? So I'm not good enough, so I really got to work hard.
And you probably were anxious some a little bit because you when you go in different environments, you just what we consider anxiety now, touches or whatever that.
Absolutely. And so, while I was having success, I had a hard time accepting it, right? So I'm doing good, but I don't know if I'm good enough, right?
Yeah. And I think some people, what I always find, Dwight, and that's why it's always good talking to you when we got to know each other when I moved to Charlotte. It's not so much that you're looking to do things better than others or compare yourselves to others. You just have such an innate drive sometimes that that negativity can flip, like which wolf are you feeding, the good or the bad wolf?
Right. Absolutely. And it can weigh you down. Like, you can put a lot of pressure on yourself unnecessarily. But for me, I think that it was that kind of drive that helped me to find success when I found it. Because I went into it with the mentality that I'm not good enough, but I got to show them that I am. So I worked my ass off, right? I just pushed myself as much as I could. I wasn't the fastest. I wasn't the quickest, but there was few guys that were going to outwork me in my position, and so I set up ways that I could compete with others. So I'd run my sprints with the running backs, trying to beat them.
Doing all of those things.
And it kept me motivated to keep getting better, and through that competition in my mind and physically, I improved incrementally, and it helped get me to the league ultimately.
So when you were getting recruited, all ACC schools all over the country, who was recruiting you as you started to look to go to college?
Yeah, I got letters from a lot of places.
Strong academically, I know that. You know.
Well,
did you? Yeah, I was going. Yeah.
I wasn't that strong academically. In high school, I did enough to get by. My parents didn't really push me. If I brought home C's, it was all good.
Gotcha.
You know, I brought home D's. They were a little angry, but it wasn't bad.
It wasn't an AB kind of thing that you
They
had.
weren't. I wasn't pushed to be on a roll or anything like that, and I kind of did. Not the minimum, but I did enough to get by, and wasn't really challenged. Wasn't pushed to be better, and not because they didn't care about me. It's just they. You know, I was first one out of the family to go to college, so what it took to get to college, they didn't think about it, didn't mention it, didn't push me to do that. But it was once that I saw in high school that, hey, maybe you got a chance to play at the next level, that I started to flip the switch and try to get my grades together. By then it was a little rough, so I slid in to college. But once I got there, I had some great leadership and academic advisors that pointed me in the right direction, and I could tell a whole story about my freshman year.
Well, I want you to tell that story. We're going to take a quick break. Okay. We'll be right back with Dwight Hollier on Chopping It Up with Buck.
Chopping It Up with Buck is brought to you by Thin Energy. Join the Thin Energy Vibe Drive today at thinenergy.com.
Hi, I'm Taylor with Beer Study. We've been here almost 10 years. Great neighborhood bar. We have 24 awesome beers on tap, hundreds more in cans and bottles, so come give us a try.
I don't think they running at my pace. Jordan 1s, gotta keep them laced. If she bad, I might have to get a taste.
We're back chopping it up with Buck. Now, the one thing that we have been trying to do, Eric Metcalf got me thinking of this, and Dwight, I'm glad you and I are able to do it. We can have a cigar, and that's what this show was about. Really just letting it breathe, not feeling like you have to get on and just do a quick sound bite. You know how people, hey, I want you to tell your story quickly. Doesn't happen like that. These take a while. You don't need you don't need one every day. But some days when you want to really hear a story, have a nice beverage, and listen to a great story.
Yes, sir.
So you were starting in on your trek through high school to college, the grades and just trying to get those right. And during the break, you were saying there was really no role models for you. You didn't have the role models that that could have helped you see that, but you had people around you that were there.
No, and they absolutely cared. And I did have role models, and some of my role models were my high school friends, who guys that I didn't go to school with, but what I like to call them the smartest nerds. I mean, the coolest nerds. The coolest nerds. They were the coolest nerds ever. And that's my good friend Brian Cheek and Victor Albia and Rodney Harper and those cats who were studious and still could cut up and
knew how to get
have
down
fun.
Have fun. But
they were tutoring other kids and still like I said, were cool nerds.
It's interesting because we sometimes look at older folks or adults that have to help each other, but man, I've had some friends that have gotten me through some stuff that I never would have imagined.
No doubt.
I mean, or even a peer that might be a little younger than you.
Yeah,
that
absolutely.
can teach you something, to show you something.
Absolutely.
That's really interesting. So, Mac Brown comes on the scene. He gets you, but who else? Who? Yeah, because Mac didn't recruit you.
Mac did not recruit me.
That's right. You were here before Mac got here.
Yeah. So Going into my senior year, I went to football camp here at Carolina. Now I had a love of Carolina already, love from a distance. MJ fan. I was a Lawrence Taylor fan, big time Lawrence Taylor fan.
Who couldn't be at a linebacker position out of North Carolina?
So Carolina was on my radar, and I went to their football camp, and again, this is going into my senior year, and had a good camp. At the end of the camp, Coach offered me a scholarship. I got that offer. That was my first one. So they were in the driver's seat as far as I was concerned. UVA came on later, but they were in the driver's seat, and it was the confirmation that I needed. Like, okay, I got this offer to go to college. Like, I knew I could play a little bit, but I got an offer to go to college, and I'm a 170-pound, linebacker. I was tall, I was, long, and I had the frame for it. But that was like, okay, I can do this. And that's when I really started to get my grades together. But it was my senior year. I signed up for 4 or 5 visits. North Carolina, NC State, Tennessee, Johnny Majors.
That's when Tennessee was really hitting it pretty hard.
And they were hitting our area pretty hard too. Wisconsin, of all places. And then here. And so I went on my early visits. Tennessee was by far the worst visit.
Oh, wow.
And Tennessee was the first time I got on the airplane.
Oh, no stuff. So
and
Tennessee was the worst by far?
Was my worst visit. And I had to fly in on what I call a crop duster.
Yeah,
A little twin engine plane in. We had those little remote control. I felt like I was on one of those flying in. And that was my first plane ride. And I get there, man, and so the guy that was hosting me, he tells me, you don't want to come here. I don't remember his name. I don't remember his name. You don't want to come here. And then we go to a party. On the way to the party, they're smoking weed, passing it around the car.
You're like,
I don't smoke weed.
Yeah, exactly.
So, this is culture shock to me. So I'm back there gripping the door handle like, get me out of here. And then we go to a party, and the guy that took me to the party, left me.
Oh, man.
Right. So this is my host. My host left me.
Yeah.
And
I've heard of hosts taking money. I've heard hosts
he
not taking you out. He left you.
He left me.
Oh man.
And so I end up getting back to my hotel room, get up the next morning, go meet with the coach, and I say, Coach, I'm not coming here.
Where'd the cat go? I know it was here.
And he said, why? And I told him everything.
Yeah, exactly.
And I don't know what happened to that kid. I don't remember his name. But I was like, man, ain't no way I'm going to go to Tennessee the way I was treated that time. And UVA and Carolina were my top 2. And it was close. It was close. I got a lot of pressure to stay home, stay in state. But to be honest, Carolina was 3.5 hours from home. UVA was 2.5, 3 hours. So
you were kind of,
I was torn. I was torn.
Yeah.
And they were just on the way to getting really good. Our best defensive player in our conference in the Peninsula District just went to Carolina 2 years before, and he was my host at UVA. Ray Savage, who has the best name in college sports.
I played against Ray Savage.
Yeah.
Ray was. We came out the same year actually.
Yeah.
Or really close, because he was. If it's the same Ray Savage, I think he was. We played in one of those all-star games or something, because he might have been a year.
He ended up having to retire from football because of heart condition.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's a great football guy.
Oh, he's a great football player.
You gotta like that punch.
Yeah.
I got a Monte Cristo. And the beautiful thing is, Dwight and I partake every now and then, but I had been telling him I had something for him, so I wanted to make sure he had it. Yeah, I'll let you do that. We're gonna take a short break. We'll be right back with Chopping It Up with Buck.
Chopping It Up with Buck is brought to you by Thin Energy. Join the Thin Energy Vibe Drive today at thinenergy.com.
Hi, I'm Taylor with Beer Study. We've been here almost 10 years. Great neighborhood bar. We have 24 awesome beers on tap, hundreds more in cans and bottles, so come give us a try.
We are back on Chopping It Up with Buck. We have been lucky enough to be able to come to Beer Study in Chapel Hill, North Carolina, right off of Franklin Street. Great place, got all kind of beer selection, wine, good location. You can sit outside. These folks have been great. They've been behind us all night, and we'll be here the rest of the evening. But Beer Study in Chapel Hill, North Carolina. Beer Study. I'll get that right at some point. And I haven't even had a beer.
Right. Just getting started.
Yeah. But so getting to North Carolina, what was that like? I always ask guys when they get to school, the first day you walk on campus or the first day you get there and you got to go to practice. You came in at 180, 175. You got some grown men at tight end and linemen, and you got to take them on as a linebacker.
It was sort of thrown to the wolves, but I kind of followed that old philosophy that I had coming in, which is just do your work hard, work fast, run fast, do everything you can fast. I remember the first time we came on campus, and it was my crew of freshmen, and at the time we had an old field house, old Keenan field house, where we all slept in one of the rooms in the Keenan field house for those that during the first training camp, and that was just the craziest time.
Great bonding too.
It was great bonding. And we had big old giant offensive linemen, and I'm playing linebacker, and of course, as we're going through things and getting closer to going into the season, I'm running a scout team. They hated me.
Oh yeah, because you went hard all the time.
They hated me because I went hard and I ran fast.
Yeah, okay.
And so, slow down, rookie, slow down, freshman, what's wrong with you? And they grabbed me, throw me to the ground. I ended up getting poked in the eye, scratched my cornea. As I'm running by one of them, they reached out, bam, got me. And so, freshman year, I'm on campus, I got a patch on my eye.
Oh.
Right. Get the patch off. 2 weeks later, scratch my cornea again. 2 weeks later, I tear my MCL. All of this happens my freshman year. So, along with that, my grades are struggling. So I'm a mess my freshman year. I'm a whole mess. Like, they pull me into the office and they say, Dwight, your grades are not good, and if they don't improve between now and the end of the semester, you're going to be back at Hampton.
Oh, man.
And I was like, to myself, I can't go back to Hampton. I can't go back home. I ain't going back there.
I'm going home when I want to go,
right,
not when they send
me in good standing. I'm not going to go back home.
Well, but so you fast forward through that, though. You go through that, and you all ACC, two-time captain. You're getting ready for the draft. You're playing for Mac. Mac's starting to build this program back up. Talk to us a little bit about why that time was special for North Carolina, because you guys really started to do some things.
Well, I mean, we had
laid the foundation.
We had laid the foundation. That's a great way of putting it. Our first year we went 1-10. Mac's first year. So I redshirted that first year that I described, that first semester that I described. But Mac came in, and Mac, Coach Brown is one of those coaches that can go to any couch in America, sit on that, and convince that kid to come and play for him. No matter where they are.
He can sell ice to an Eskimo. I tell him that all. I tell him that he is so good with anybody, and he doesn't forget stuff. Like he met my son. My son was at the UT camp years ago. He still asks me, "How's your son doing?"
Coach Brown. When I played, my younger brother Darnell, was 10 or 11. I called Coach Brown. This is 1991. It's my last year here, last time playing for Coach Brown. 2005, I called 2005, 2006, whenever they won the national championship, I called and said, Coach Brown, congratulations.
Yeah.
Coach Brown says, how is Vera?
Isn't that crazy?
Vera's my mom.
I know.
And then he says, how's Darnell doing? Darnell was 11, 12. And he those are the first two questions he asked me. And it just...
I mean, I have seen, I can see why kids want to go play for him. And why the parents are telling the kids, you better go play for this guy. So you're going through that, you're getting ready for the combine and all of that good stuff.
So Troy went first, Marco went first round, second pick of their second pick of the first round. We had Eddie Blake out of Auburn, was a guard.
Big offensive
Eddie
lineman.
was a second round pick. Larry Webster from Maryland was a third round pick, and then it was me.
Yeah.
Like all of us played that
Y'all played early because I played
year.
against y'all.
Yeah.
I was in India in 92 through 95, and I can remember that influx of talent because I didn't play in the AFC East. I was drafted by the Saints. But I can remember watching film of y'all the year before that, and I'm like, man, these dudes are flying around, making plays, and now we're playing against each other on special teams.
Yes, sir.
Tell us about Don Shula, Hall of Fame. I mean, I've talked to so many guys that played for Coach Shula, and I love them from a distance. I can only imagine having to play for him, play on his team.
Hey man, when I got the call here in Chapel Hill, it was draft night, and back then it wasn't no 3 nights. It was first through the 7th was the first day, and then they did the rest later. So the broadcast had gone off. My friends had come down from A&T to sit with me and watch the draft, and that was about 2 hours or so, or 3 hours. I don't even remember. That had gone off, and I said, you know what? I'm not getting drafted early. I'm just going to go head up to Franklin Street.
Yeah.
I go back to my room and I start getting dressed, and our phone rings, and I have a phone in the room. And so I pick it up, and on the phone the guy says, hey, this is Harvey Green with the Miami Dolphins. I'm about to put you on the phone with Don Shula. Dude, I start jumping around the room like I'm not screaming, but I am jumping up, boom, 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 all over the room. And he gets on the phone and he says, hey, we love watching you. We're about to draft you. Man, I was over the moon, completely over the moon. So fast forward, they fly you in for that first visit. And at the time, Miami Dolphins training camp was located on St. Thomas University's campus.
Oh, that's right.
And so van pulls around in front of the facility then, and walk into the locker room. And the locker room was 7th grade gym locker room, right? So it was old, wooden frame, chicken wire between the locker, kind of locker room. And I was like, this is a pro team? Then I go to my locker, and the everybody's jersey with your name on the back is hanging up in there, and I had number 64.
Oh man.
And I looked around, and there was another 64 over there. I was 64B.
Oh wow!
I was like, I'm a linebacker.
And your 4th round pick.
I'm a linebacker, 4th round pick.
Yeah.
They don't expect me to make the team. They gave me 64. So I was like, I was all deflated. I was like, damn, I'm 64.
That'd be 50C.
Right. It was, so I had to play with a little chip on my shoulder because I'm 64. But three games in, preseason games in, my ultimate number 50 comes free. They cut a veteran linebacker, and I got his number.
That's wild.
times.
Well, it sounds like we talk about adversity. And Don Shula being a great coach for you. What was the adversity that you faced there, and how? Because I also got a chance to spend time with you in Indy when you played with Jim Moore, who drafted me, and Coach Moore he's a different cat, boy. Charlie, come here.
He was entertaining.
Hey, he would have a cigar and sitting by the. Come on in here, Charlie. Let me talk to you.
Playoffs? Playoffs? You gotta be kidding me. Playoffs?
Yeah. But what I liked about Jim is sometimes he would go off and it was measured and you knew why he was doing it. Yeah. And he was a former military guy, and he'd call you in his office later and say, hey, look, I really like you, but you got to do this. He was brutally honest with you and could go off on you. I saw him in Ironhead one time when we were in training camp. Ironhead was supposed to weigh in every day. So Haywood, rest his soul, brother, yes, I love this brother like nobody else. But he would sneak and just come to the field and not weigh in. And I had the helmet on one day because I was a young pup. I had to wear the helmet, bring the helmets in. I got a big head. I could spin his helmet around. So he tried to say my head is big as his, and I'm like, head. But anyway, he cussed Head out. Head comes on the field. They're cussing each other out. They're out in the middle of the field talking, and it's getting heated. So finally, after it's over with, they're laughing, they're smiling. Now, and Jim was pissed at him, but for some reason, he loved Ironhead. And when he got to Indy, he brought him there at some point. But that's the kind of the guy that I liked about. I like Jim because right. he could be brutally honest. He could do certain things, but he would then he would like, okay, he ain't gonna hold it against you. It ain't gonna stay there forever. Right. Now he had some hard training camps, brother.
Hey, Lord. Even back and down the road on Jim. Yeah. So Ironhead first.
Oh yeah, I gotta hear it.
So my first start, John Offerdall got hurt. And so my first start was against New Orleans.
Okay.
The first play was a check down pass to Ironhead. And I come up and I hit Ironhead with everything in my being. Pow! You know, I'm like, NFL, pow! Threw all of it into it. I had pushed all the soul and everything
and this
into
is 240, 245. Whatever.
Oh, I was a good 250.
Yeah, you were, solid.
I was solid.
No little guy.
Right. Hit him with everything I had. 7 yards later, I'm getting up and my helmet's turned sideways and I'm looking out the ear hole and I'm biting, hoping that he falls. Like, please go down, please go down. That was my welcome to the NFL. Yeah. This was the first play of the game.
Oh,
it was
wow.
a check down play to Ironhead.
Yeah.
And I come up and, like I said, hit him with everything I had, and it was not enough. It was not enough. Ultimate respect to Ironhead, man.
But, when you got to Indy, did you figure it was going to be kind of the end of the road, or you thought you were going to play a whole lot longer?
No, I thought maybe I had 2 in me. Okay. My ultimate goal was 10.
Okay.
So I get to Indy. Well, first of all, I get to Indy because Miami didn't re-sign me. I had been in Miami for 8 years. Yeah. So Jimmy Johnson retired, Dan Marino retired, and Dave, who was the new coach from Pittsburgh, Weinstedt.
Yeah, Dave Weinstedt, yeah.
So Weinstedt, back up. The year before, Weinstedt came on staff as a defensive advisor.
Yeah.
So he was in all the defensive meetings, sort of lingering in the back of the room. He was lingering around practice. And just it didn't. We never clicked. I wasn't one of his guys. I wasn't one of Jimmy's guys either.
And Jimmy knew he was retiring, so
he was priming.
Priming him. Yeah.
So that off season comes. They decide not to re-sign me. I'm a free agent, and I was salty. I was salty. I had just got the master's degree. Like I had spent that season, my family. I had just married my wife 2 years ago, 2 years before, and was planning to lock it down, get another year and a half, 2 years in, and they let me go, and I was like, I was salty. So Indy calls, get an opportunity. Bill Polian calls and says, "Hey, we want to sign you." I was like, "Okay, cool." I go to Indy and I'm miserable, dude. Indy is not Miami.
No.
Indy is not Miami.
Hey, Indy is great in the spring and summer. I played for you.
Not even in the spring. Well, I didn't last to the spring.
Here's the thing. If you get past April 1st, because I've been in Indy, I lived there for 12 years. My wife was from there originally. Both my kids were born there. You get past April and you get one snow and then you're done. It's pretty good after that. But man, I'm just telling you.
Football season, Indy. Because that's really all that I was there.
I got you.
So, yeah, I actually signed in April. Got there and went through all the summer stuff. And it was okay, but it was, I didn't know anybody.
Yeah.
I was, learning the defense.
Going to the hotel after work and you didn't have your guys. Yeah, you're comfortable.
Right. And so I really bonded with Cornelius Bennett.
Oh yeah.
So Biscuit and I, he was old head, and I was an old head as a 9-year guy. We connected. We still one of my favorite people.
Played Biscuit. All right. I played Biscuit twice a year in Buffalo, so one of those things. Hey, we're gonna take a short break. We'll be right back. We're chopping it up with Buck. They're over here like, nah.
Chopping It Up with Buck is brought to you by Thin Energy. Join the Thin Energy Vibe Drive today at thinenergy.com.
All right, we're back with Dwight Hollier, chopping it up with Buck. We're at Beer Study in Chapel Hill, North Carolina. I'm getting it right this time. Right off of Franklin Street. You saw, this UCLA guy. We're gonna talk about this a little bit. But these North Carolina folks, you got the women's Final Four, getting into the, Sweet 16, Final Four, whatever. You got the men playing my guys tonight. I'm loving that. We'll talk about that. But Dwight, tell us what you're doing now, because I think it's really interesting. When you and I started talking in Charlotte, even in Indy, I would see you guys because I was calling games. I didn't know you as well, but I always kind of gravitated towards the older heads.
Right.
Because the young guys, they live in a whole different life. They're trying to find themselves.
Yes, sir.
But the one thing that I know as you're transitioning out of the league, that's a tough thing. And even you and I would talk about it way back then, but really when I got to Charlotte and we started to spend time together, tell me about your transition and how that's helped you in your current job, in your current role, but also some of the things you did even before you got back here as an associate athletic director.
Yeah, man, that transition, as you know, is a beast. And, no matter how long you play, no matter how great you are, at some point it comes to an end. And that's especially true for football players. Like, you can go and hoop if you're a basketball player, you can go and play golf if you're a golf, but when you play football, you ain't going to play football no more.
You don't play football past when you play football.
Right.
Like, if I want to go out and try to play football now, my old butt busted and disgusted.
I tell people I got one play. And it's a kneel down. That's all I got. And then somebody gonna have to come help me get up. Yeah.
But the transition, I've seen it tough for not only guys that played Hall of Famers. I've seen it tough for guys that played a short stretch. So tell me about the transition for you and how you've been able to help guys make that transition.
Yeah, so I mentioned earlier that I'd gotten a master's degree in counseling. And so I went to work right away after my, I played that season in Indy. I got hurt and I had surgery and tried to come back and just wasn't there. And I wasn't there mentally. I think when I got hurt, the emotions surrounding that just really wore me out. And so I had to, I tried to push myself to come back and play that 10th season because for some reason I had in my mind that success means that you've played 10 years. And so playing 9 years was a failure. So I thought that because I only played 9. Now when I say that, and I say this all the time, when I say that, it sounds ridiculous, dude. You only played 9. Man, shut up.
Growing up in Houston, it was like if you're a disciple when you play 12 years. So I'm thinking, I got to play 12. I only get 5. I'm like, what happened to the other 7?
Right.
You know, yeah,
So
whatever it is.
you get it.
Yeah,
So
I
you get
totally
it.
get it. I
You
totally
get it. So I'm transitioning, and I'm a counselor. You know, my first job is at Carolina's Healthcare and working in their behavioral health center, and I'm working with young people and some of the toughest kids because I'm a big ball black guy. So hey, you can work with this kid because you're a big ball black guy.
Yeah.
So I'm working with some of these tough kids and helping them navigate the system and what they're going through. And then I'm going home and I'm cutting off the lights and or I'm having a drink and I'm just not healthy, not mentally healthy. And I was in a severe depression spiral over the course of a couple of years. And
you were counseling people doing
right.
that,
but still not dealing with my own stuff.
Yeah.
And ultimately, I got to this bottom, man, where I had suicidal ideation. I wasn't happy, and I wasn't healthy for myself or my family. And ultimately,
who helped you when you identified it, or who helped you identify that I'm at this point? I can't go.
I mean, I had my wife and some of my friends who recognized that I wasn't the same and said, you need to do something about it. You need to talk to somebody. And ultimately, I had to go and do that.
Yeah, man.
And it helped shift things for me. And and I still struggle, still have moments, but it helped refine my mission as well.
Gotcha.
And part of that mission was to, and what I said was back then, and I ended up in private practice and working with athletes and trying to help them transition. And part of my motivation was, if I could play 9 years in the NFL, leave the game with a master's degree, first of all, go into it having had my undergrad degree, get a master's degree while playing, leave the game, go to work right away, and still fall flat on my face. What happens to the guy who thought he was going to play 10, only plays 2, and didn't finish his undergrad degree? And I know where I was, so what happens to that guy?
He thinks failure on top of failure on top of failure.
And so my motivation was to be able to help those guys be successful in that transition. And I started, shifting my experience to fulfill that goal of mine. And ultimately got an opportunity to work at the NFL and in the player engagement department as a director of transition and clinical services, and then promoted to vice president of wellness and clinical services. Worked there for 5.5 years, and then got an opportunity to come back to the place that I've loved since I was 17. Since they first offered me a scholarship when I was 17, I've loved this place.
It's hard not to like this place.
It's special. I'm really biased.
I know.
Really biased.
Yeah, and if we do this again, we're gonna do it at UCLA on my campus.
We ain't
you
doing
can
that.
do it there
No.
because we're gonna start playing home and home. We got to. Those two schools need to play each other, man. The Rose Bowl and Keenan Stadium. I would love to see that.
Well, with football, there is a partnership with the Pac-12,
exactly,
and
ACC. We gotta make that happen.
And Big 12.
They gotta make that happen. That's been one I've always wanted to see UCLA and North Carolina play. And don't play these neutral site games. Play home and home.
Play home and home.
So that'd be, that'd be awesome.
No, it'd be great. It'd be great to do that.
We'd have to go and be ambassadors for that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I travel all the football games anyway, so I'll be there.
But the transition for you, and then getting through that, and then helping the young fellas here, because I know college football, I don't think people realize how tough that transition is, going from high school to college. Some guys, when they finish that last game, it's done.
That's it.
And it's the same thing of trying to make sure they feel comfortable and confident to go on to that next level.
Most guys, most athletes are done after that last game on their campus. We're fortunate that we live in a world now where women's soccer, women's lacrosse, women's field hockey, there are opportunities, women's volleyball. There are opportunities for them to continue to compete. The Olympic sports can continue to compete. But there are a lot of sports and a lot of athletes who the last game is their last game. And so how do we help prepare them for that next step, that transition to no longer be an athlete? And it is an area that a lot of college campuses are currently tackling. They are currently doing great work in helping athletes make that transition. And I like to think that we're doing that, but it's a work in progress. It's something that we are always striving to do better and striving to make sure that we put things in place to help athletes, student athletes, as they navigate the professional world, the real world, the life after sport.
That's cool. Well, man, it's been great. I mean, we could do this all night, but we got games, basketball games to go see. I know we're gonna do it again so we can talk trash to each other. I got my Bruins, you got your Tar Heels.
Absolutely.
We'll leave it to that for basketball tonight. 2-minute drill. I got to take you through it, man. We do this every time, and it just off the top of your head. Don't think about it. Just answer it. The first thing that comes to your mind. So, Tupac or Biggie?
Pac.
All right. Why Pac?
I just
me against the world, baby.
It's me against the world. I could sing the lyrics to nearly everything. Sometimes I can't remember my kid's name, but I know all the lyrics to Pac. That's wrong, but yeah. No, I was a big Pac fan.
Yeah,
Pac fan.
Going to school out on the West, getting familiar with some of those guys, because it's funny, when SC started playing well, a lot of the LBC crews started going there, but back in the day when we were 86 to 90, them cats were on our sideline. They were hanging with us, so it was interesting to watch the maturation of West Coast, East Coast rap, whatever you want to call it, and all of that good stuff. So, yeah,
good. And I got Pac playing in my head. I love Biggie too. Now. I love Biggie, but I have to select Pac on that one.
Who's the toughest guy you've had to tackle or play against in the NFL?
I mean, Ironhead was the toughest guy. I mean, Barry Sanders was one of the elusive, challenging cats, but Ironhead was that first experience. So he really sticks out for me.
A guy that's 280, 300 pounds that can make you miss and then run over you, run through you, and laughing at you while he's doing it. Because he would, I had some, he would talk a little trash. I hope you like Mexican food. Corn or flour tortillas?
Corn or flour? Corn.
Okay, gotcha, yeah. Do you like breakfast for dinner or dinner for breakfast?
Breakfast for dinner.
Breakfast for dinner.
Breakfast for dinner. I'm breakfast all day.
Yeah, what do you do? I'm a pancake guy or waffles sometimes, but I love some pancakes. I love omelets. What's your breakfast?
I'm an egg guy, so I'm an omelet. I'm typically my Saturday and Sunday mornings is me in the kitchen making my favorite breakfasts. So I'm doing bacon, I'm doing sausage, I'm doing biscuits, I'm doing laying it all out.
My grandmother made homemade biscuits. Rest her soul, man. And I would sit in there and wait. She'd give me a little bit of the stuff, but I can just remember those biscuits rising, and I was a tough-skinned kid. I was a little chunky, so I was always waiting.
Hey, man, hey.
And she gave me the first one out the thing with a little butter on it. Oh, my goodness. If we're moving down the field, we're marching. You're a defensive guy, but I want you to have a pick. I want you to have a pick six on this one. If you could have dinner with one person, who would it be?
Wow.
Yeah.
One person?
Yeah.
I can't say who I want to say. I admire Barack Obama.
Yeah.
He would be he will be on the list.
Okay. Yeah.
It's a question I've never thought about that, to be honest.
Yeah.
And there's so many people that's just kind of running through my head.
Well, I'm gonna let you score on this. What's the best advice your pops gave you? The best advice he ever gave you?
Best advice he ever gave me was really just to be you.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Don't try to be anybody else. Just be you.
That's the best advice anybody can give you, especially your father.
Right.
Hey,
right.
well, this
and
been
keep
great.
your hands off my stuff. that was one too.
That sounds like a dad.
Yeah.
Hey, well, it's been great, man. That's been Dwight Hollier. We've been here at the Beer Study. They've been so good to us. Chapel Hill, North Carolina, if you're ever here off of Franklin Street. But it's been great, man. Good
Yes,
to
sir.
finally get you on Chopping It Up with Buck.
Appreciate it, brother. All right, man. Yeah.